Hello there everybody, welcome back to the Railway, and today welcome back to another review. This time it is part of Steam Week and it is a brand new Bachmann locomotive. When I say it's brand new to me. I've never had one of these before. I've never even had this one out of the box yet. However, by the time this review goes up, you will have seen it in use during Steam Week. So yeah, that really. So you'll have seen it in use during Steam Week. But as of recording, I haven't recorded any of the Steam Week content just yet. Anyway, today's model is this. It's the Bachmann Class 57XX. Now, this cost me £55 and I bought it from a little model shop. Now, I hasten to add that this is a pre-owned model. So, any damage that has been occurred on it, I'm not going to blame on the manufacturer. I'm going to blame it on the previous owner of this model. It's been tested and runs brilliantly. I've never had this out of the box as of recording, so I don't actually know what it's going to be like. So hopefully it's going to be really good. You guys will know because you'll have seen it during Steam Week. Anyway, let me just rearrange the chair. So, let's get this out then. The Bachmann 57XX. If I turn the back over, you can see there is a bit of a brief history here about the 57XX. I'm going to zoom in and you can read that if you want. There it is. Feel free to read that, but these were a Great Western Railway pannier tank locomotive, which I have none at the moment. It was introduced in 1929 as well. So the version I've gone for, if I show you the end of the box you can see, or the version that they had in stock at least, was 32-215, Class 57XX pannier tank 5775, GWR green. It's got an 8-pin DCC socket in there, which I suppose is always very good to know. Anyway, we've got this, let's get it out of the box. So as you can see, it's in standard Bachmann packaging. Now, I believe this model has been around since 1999, but there is the model. As you can see, it's really nicely presented in the front, and it looks really good. The finish on it does look pretty good. I love this livery as well. It's one of my favourite liveries. So, without any further ado, try and get this out of here. This is the blister pack. At the bottom we have some paperwork. The box to one side. This is the paperwork, so. Right, so we've got, if I zoom out, 57XX parts diagram, and we have, underneath we have a piece of paper. Has that got anything on the back? No, it hasn't. Underneath we have a consumer guarantee and how to care for your locomotive. So I'm just going to take a quick moment to read through that if you want. I'm not going to because it's basically standard Bachmann information, so I'll just put that to one side. Anyway, here is the model. And it's feeling reasonably heavy actually. This is feeling heavier than some of the other models I've tried. So, I say tried, I don't know, I have. It's my 040, obviously it's going to be heavy because it's a little Bachmann pannier tank. But yeah, it's reasonably heavy, but let's get this out of the box. There's no detail pack with this. I'm going to presume there was a detail pack with this when it was new, but evidently that must have just been lost by the previous owner. But it does look really good actually, that finish. If you see, it's sort of somewhere between gloss and what's it called, matte. So it's quite nice, like satin sort of finish. It's nice. Anyway, let's get this out. Bachmann ice cube, and there it is. The first thing I'm going to notice is it's quite dusty. So this, by the looks of things, has been stored out in the open rather than in its box. I can see it's got some different couplings fitted. They are known couplings. Tension locks, but they do look to be a different design. They are pivoting as well, which is a nice touch. But yeah, it looks quite chunky. A lot of the details, first glance, doesn't appear to be separately fitted. I think these are old mainline models. I think these were from 1999 according to the Hatton's directory, but I might be wrong. But this has definitely had an improved chassis attached to it. I think this may well, the body may well be a mainline one. Bachmann seems to have done that a lot. But let's pluck this from here, and that's actually really heavy. Put the ice cube to one side. Yeah, this is ridiculously heavy, this, for a little pannier tank loco. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so heavy. So I'm going to presume there's a die-cast chassis or something here. I don't know. But yeah, it's just nice and heavy. I don't know what motor it's got in it. I'm guessing it's a 3-pole. I don't think it's too heavy. Let me have a look. I think it might be a 3-pole, so I don't think it's particularly heavy. Well, the looks of things, let's consult the guide. I take it back. That looks like a 3-pole motor, but it also looks quite big. There's no flywheel by the looks of that. But it looks alright, yeah. It looks alright. So, there is the model. It looks really quite cool. The cab detail's pretty good as well. But yeah, enough of me faffing around with this. Let's get up onto the white background and we can take a proper look at it. Right then, so here we are up on the white background, the wonderful Bachmann 57XX. I am going to put this out there. I do not, and I want do not in block capitals with asterisks around it the whole lot, think that this is worth over 100 quid, which last time I checked was Bachmann's asking price. This evidently uses old mainline tooling that is not up to modern standards. However, it does have a flip side. For 55 quid, I'm not complaining. It's a lovely locomotive in terms of detail, and although there are some slightly underwhelming features, this area on top of the boiler being quite, it's quite underwhelming really. Look at this, there's so many non-separately fitted parts, they're all moulded details, and when I can get the camera to focus it would be good. But you can see they're all moulded details, and that's not great, I'm afraid. For 2022, it's not bad though. This is 55 quid is the right price for this. It's not like Hornby or whoever, who would probably charge in the region of £180+ for this, and they wouldn't put it in the railroad range. This is the sort of railroad range quality that we would want from Hornby. It's got separately fitted parts, and it's more or less accurate. It's a nice locomotive, and it's not easily broken. The separately fitted parts you can see here, the main ones being these handrails, as you can see, they're nice and sturdy. Well, very sturdy indeed, in fact. So that's not going to be an issue. Breaking it, you might break it, but it's very, very unlikely to, because there's, well, very, very few separately fitted parts. Anyway, let's take a proper close look at it. So if I try and get up onto the buffer beam and get my camera to focus on it, it would be very good indeed. That'll be the day when my camera actually focuses. Anyway, so this is the buffer beam then. As you can see, there's plenty of detail on here. We've got these nice vacuum pipes here. Those look quite realistic. We've got this nice 3-link coupling hook, which is a nice inclusion, of course. Sadly, there was no detail pack with this, and I'm going to blame that on the old owner of this, the previous owner, because, well, it just wasn't there. We've got sprung buffers at each end, however, these are plastic. This one looks like it's been in some sort of serious issue, like collision or something, but the other one springs nicely, that one sort of springs. And again, we've got those at the back of the locomotive. Plenty of rivet detail on here, so that's quite a nice feature, along with the printing, which is nice and crisp. This running board, to me, doesn't feel like die-cast. I may well be wrong, but I don't think it is. Up here then, we have got what look like some separately fitted steps on the side of the boiler and the tanks there. They look quite nice. This is a separately fitted smokebox dart, which again is a nice touch. Sadly, these hinges aren't though, those are just part of the moulding. This handrail continues around the front, and again that is separately fitted, and if I press it on there it's relatively sturdy, so I think that's made of metal. Up here, if I put my finger behind it, you can see them slightly better. These small handrails, they've got massive big, I don't know how to describe them really, massive big lumps at each end. No idea if that's prototypical, however, I'm going to take a guess that it's not. Up here though, the chimney looks quite good, that's nice and convincing. I would have thought personally it would have a copper cap chimney, but apparently not on this example. On the side of the model then, there is no representation of the inside motion, which is a bit disappointing, and as I said, it's one of those underwhelming features that makes this worth 55 quid, but not worth over 100. So yeah, that's quite disappointing there. The splashes look quite nice. We've got a little toolbox there for the crew to use. That's quite nice. It's got a couple of rivets on the top, that's nicely detailed. Again, we've got these moulded details here at the end by the cab. They're not the most convincing in the world, but they're certainly not too bad. Again, we've got these very chunky handrails up here. They continue. They don't look too bad, but I wouldn't say they're a particularly quality feature. It's good they're separately fitted, but, the printing's quite good as well. That's nice and crisp. There's a very, very clear difference between the two colours there. Again, that was the same with the front here, where it's black and green transitions. Up on top, as you can see, we have this big dome. This I would have thought would be copper as well, along with the safety valve bonnet. Apparently not on this example. We have got this nice moulded detail up top. I say it's nice, it just looks a bit flat. It's rather underwhelming, to be honest. It would be better if this was fitted with actual separately fitted piping. Put the price up, but I don't mind paying a little bit more if it's going to be perfect. We've got some broken details here. These look like handrails, or hand wheels, sorry, to turn on top. I'm not too sure what they were, but they did look quite nice. Well, I'm sure they would have looked quite nice. I don't actually know what it looked like, but they've sort of fallen down, as you can see there and there. So those must have been very, very fragile. We've got over here by the cab, we've got these nice separately fitted copper coloured whistles inside their little V type shape. That's quite nice, and it looks like quite nice. It's nice to add some highlights to it. And I forgot to mention actually the finish on it. If I move my big light around, you can see that it's sort of reflective, sort of, and it's really quite nice. You know, you can see how it sort of lights. Oh, hello, I've dropped something. You can see how it's sort of gloss and satin. It's a nice finish. Around here, oh hello, I've managed to turn my light off. There we go. Stay on please light, that would be good, thank you. Seems like a light that works is too much to ask for. Anyway, here we've got these nice windows by the front of the cab. These have got a nice copper or golden sort of colour around them. They look pretty... well, my light has stopped working. Apologies. Right, there you go. Should work now. These are quite nice. I think those would have flipped out. They are glazed, which is pretty good if I'm honest. Wasn't really expecting that on such a cheap model. Let's try and get it to focus. No, that's too much to ask for. There you go, they look quite nice indeed. We've got nice riveting around those, and this little C crest there is nicely done. There are some nice printed number plates, 5775, there's nicely done. And again on roof, this detail doesn't look too chunky, that looks nice and refined and pretty good indeed. By the bunker, as you can see, we have got some nice rivet detail here, and these steps there, I think they're separately fitted, they look really good, along with these nice cab doors. Now I'm trying to get a nice shot inside of the cab for you, but it's really made difficult by the fact that there's no painted details on the cab backhead. This is really not a quality feature, and in this day and age I would have thought Bachmann would be more than capable of doing it. There's no floor either. These wheels sort of go through the floor. Not very realistic, not a great feature either. At this end of the model then, we have got these nice separately fitted bars over the windows. They look really nice and realistic. This cold lobe doesn't look too bad either. I don't think it's removable, but equally, why would you want to remove it? It looks really nice. I'll show you that in a minute. Here we've got some more of these slightly chunky handrails. Those are slightly more refined than on the ones on the rest of the body. They look alright. We've got these like fire iron holders here. If I can get the words out, it would be good. Those look super detailed. They look really quite cool. Again, we've got more vacuum pipes at the back. We've got this nice coupling hook. The printed crests, and of course sprung buffers. Forgot to mention these steps here under the body. These are made of metal and nice and sturdy as well. This little bit of pipe work here, that looks alright. That's a bit naff. It could have been better if it was copper coloured or something, but I'm guessing that's the prototype. The chassis detail in between the wheels is a bit underwhelming, but it's there I suppose. And these steps here, again, they're a bit flexible, but they're alright. They're connected to the running board, so that's alright as well. And that running board looks pretty straight to me. Here we are on top of the model. As you can see, that coal load, it's a bit odd, but you know, I wouldn't particularly see the need to remove it. So there we are then, the Bachmann Class 57XX. Bit of a rip-off at the RRP, but to be honest, at 50 quid, I'm not complaining. Let's see how it performs. So here it is then, the slightly underwhelming Bachmann 57XX up on the layout. Now I have my controller here. Let's see how it performs. Because, you know, if this thing works fine, then I'm sure that will sort of counterbalance all those negatives I had with the details. Anyway, here we go. So I'm just turning it up slow to see if it can crawl. Well, actually, I didn't even get to finish that sentence before I had to start this again, because it sort of moved. And now turning it up again, get it to move backwards. Right, we're at 100% on the controller and it's not moving. This is not good. Set it to 20 and give it a nudge. Oh, it's buzzing. Oh, a bit unreliable then. And it's making a noise like a dying bumblebee. Here it comes back into shot for you. It's making a very weird noise, that. It's a bit inconsistent because it does keep cutting out on stuff. But it's running, I suppose. Does it do a crawl? So I'm going to presume this has been running by its previous owner. Let's see, can it do a crawl? So I'm not going to bother running it in. This is a bit fun. Crawl. Oh God, cogging. We are moving. Not particularly slowly, but we're cogging. Oh, ooh. Yeah, so performance isn't great. Can't do a crawl. See what sort of speed does it stop cogging? About 20%. So that's not, it's not great. It's a bit underwhelming, as I said. But the high speeds, it does seem to be fairly smooth, which is pretty good. And now it's sort of run in for a couple of minutes, or less than that even. It seems to have ironed out those little issues. And I'm just running it round now. And that seems to be a decent runner actually. It doesn't seem to slow down on curves or anything, unlike the Hornby D16. So, let's get up some coaches and we can get it coupled up to a train. So here it is then, and I've got here a Hornby Railroad Mark 1 coach, an older Hornby Mark 1 brake, and behind it I've got a Hawksworth passenger brake thing, making up a rake of 3 coaches. And this is more or less, I would say, the longest coach your 57XX is actually going to pull in realistic revenue earning service, revenue earning service in quotation marks there. Anyway, so let's try and get it coupled up to the train. Set it to reverse. And I'm going to zoom in on the coupling actually, in case it doesn't go particularly well. Right, turning up. Of course it can't really do a crawl, so it might be a bit of a bumpy coupling, I'm afraid, for the passengers. Right, we have gone backwards. Has it coupled? No, it hasn't. Bring them back into. Bring that out here. Bring them plenty into shot there. Oh, we have straight away derailed. Let's try that again. Couple. Right, I think we're coupled this time. Yes, we are. So I'm going to set that to a realistic speed, say 30 on my controller, which is quite fast. And get that running around the layout then, as you can see. There it is. That's handling that with absolutely power to spare. No strain on that at all, I wouldn't say. Look at that go. Doing it nicely. Of course, there's no slowing down on the curves either, because it's a Bachmann product and it seems to be relatively high quality despite slightly underwhelming detail. There it goes. And again, forgot to put the lamp on the back of that train. That's helpful. But yeah, looks decent that. Yes. A decent model at a decent price, I would say. Definitely a beginner's model though, rather than one for the serious modeler, unless you want to do some seeping up, I suppose. You could paint them, the safety valves, bonnet, the copper chimney, the dome and that. I think it would look good. But yeah, that seems to be doing it nicely. Quite impressed with that, to be honest. There it is. For 50 quid, I'm not, to be honest, I'm not moaning. If it can haul that at 50 quid, that's realistically all I'm going to task it to haul. I'm quite impressed. I really am. Right, I'm going to do a bit of a power test now. So it's got 3 coaches behind it. I'll put my finger in the way where the buffers are. Bring it back into shot a little bit. And let's see if it can actually push against them. So yeah, that's got torque. It's got a little bit of power there, so I don't think that's going to be hugely powerful. I think it could probably easily haul 10, 12 coaches maybe. It's depending on how freewheeling they are. If they're like the Hornby Railroad Mark 1 and they've got plastic wheels, plastic bearings, and plastic axles, so on and so forth, and there's a load of drag, then they're not going to be very good and it probably won't haul them. However, if they're like the Hawksworth coach, or any of the older coaches I suppose, with metal wheels, metal axles and metal bearings, it's very, very, very likely that it will haul them. So, I'm going to give you some ratings then for my Bachmann Class 57 XX. Now I've lost my ratings sheet because I'm an idiot, so I'm having to make them up and try and remember. Well, I know exactly what ratings I want to give it, but I'm trying to remember which categories I need to rate it in. Anyway, so I'm going to do detail first, and detail is going to be, out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it 2.5, so a bit underwhelming. It's evident that it's a mainline locomotive, but as I said, for 57 quid, I'm not complaining in that front. However, I'm going to be assessing it at the RRP, as I try and do with most of my models, if I remember. I don't think it's hugely great, to be honest. I think detail there it's quite poor. Now, in terms of mechanism, I'm going to do that one. I think I remembered to do that. In terms of mechanism, I don't think it's very good, to be honest. It's just a single 3-pole motor. Nothing else. I don't know about bearings or anything, but I don't take off the base keeper plate to find out because, well, it's a Bachmann model, anything could be under there, and I'm just terrified to find out, to be honest. No, but in all seriousness, I don't think that it's going to be particularly good under there. So therefore, I'm rating the mechanism 3. It's a 5. Performance, to be honest, apart from the initial stutters and stuff when it was trying to do a crawl, I haven't had an issue with this in like the 20 seconds you've seen it running. I haven't had an issue with it, so I'm going to rate it 4 out of 5, just because it can't do a very good crawl. It's not particularly smooth and did keep cutting out. Should rate it about 3, but I'm going to rate it 4 because I'm feeling generous. Now, in terms of value for money, in fact, no, I'm going to not do value for money, I'm going to do quality first. Quality then, to be honest, 5 out of 5. It's high quality like Bachmann. The only little niggles I could find were those 2 bits, and that was broken by the previous owner. I could see that if I were to have it, I wouldn't break them. So, yeah, I think 5 out of 5 in terms of quality. In terms of value for money, 3 out of 5. It's not the best. That's just the long shot of it. It's not the best. You know, it's alright, I would suppose, if you're a beginner and you can find them cheap enough. You know, if you want a serious 57XX, I think, to be honest, there are better options out there. You could modify this, you could do a kit build, but for over 100 quid RRP, I wouldn't choose to go down the former route. I'd rather do the latter route because it's probably going to be cheaper in the long run and you might get enjoyment out of it. Unless you can find one of these really cheap that's, you know, you can do up. So overall then, would I recommend the model? Well, as I've just said, I would recommend the model, but only if you're in the market for one of these and you don't mind doing some extra souping up to it, as it were, to make it better than it is, because it's not a great model as it is. It's a very, very, very charming thing, because I love pannier tanks. I absolutely love them. I think they are some of the nicest locomotives ever to run on the British Railway network. But, as I said, it's not the best model of a 57XX you could buy. Just the fact that the detail and the tooling is quite so dated. I like the new features like sprung buffers, you know, the kinematic, well, they're not kinematic, but I like the NEM, whatever you call them, coupling pockets. I think that's a nice feature. I like the fact it's not a split chassis model, but equally, I don't think it's particularly great. Anyway, that concludes today's review of the Bachmann 57XX. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed Steam Week this week. And until next time, there'll be Diesel Week coming very, very soon. Till then, bye for now.